What's up, guys? Today we're going to be reacting to What Happened to Fresh video. Hopefully you guys like it, and let's get into it.
This is Fresh. He started in poverty, but Fortnite made him millions. And he suddenly vanished, with his last post being over 1 year ago, leaving many with the same question: when will he return? And to find all the answers, I've gone through tons of posts, podcasts, and videos. And for everything to make sense, we have to go all the way back to the start of Mr. Fresh's story, where he would be born on March 5th of 2002. His real name is Harley Campbell, but almost everyone knows him as Mr. Fresh Asian, or just Fresh. Anyways, he would be born in the Mount Druitt area of Australia, and for anyone not too familiar with the area, it's one of the poorest areas in Australia, with quite a substantial crime rate and poverty rate. Now, his mother would be of Chinese descent, and his father was Australian, and only 8 months into Fresh's life, his parents would separate, and his father would remarry and start a new family. Much later on in Fresh's life, he would actually end up going to court with them. But back to his childhood, because eventually, later on, Fresh would manage to get a hold of his stepbrother's hand-me-down laptop, and he really looked up to his stepbrother because he was a professional Team Fortress 2 player, and being a gamer deeply resonated with Fresh, who was only around 5 years old at this time. And right from the start, he would also begin to play TF2 and Minecraft, and he became hooked. But in order for him to use his laptop, he would have to do chores around his house to earn more time on the computer. So as he maneuvered around his chores and earned more time on his computer, he would also be limited because of his family's situation, as he would experience life living with both parents individually. Along with this, he was exposed with both ends of wealth, but was unliked by his stepmother, ultimately causing a strained relationship with his father and stepfamily in general. So all these circumstances led him to video games even more, and after getting into TF2 and slowly transitioning into a competitive state, he would also begin to play Minecraft, but he gravitated towards the competitive ends of all things, including speedrunning and PvP in Minecraft, and he would slowly become recognized as one of the better Minecraft speedrunners at the time as just a young teen. And as he continued along his gaming journey, he would soon find himself playing CSGO. And of course, because it's Fresh, he was great at it, so he would compete in local LAN events near him. And throughout this time, he aspired to become a streamer as well, because many other gamers around him were doing that. So midway through year 10 of his schooling, he would begin his streaming journey, and at first he didn't really care about the viewers, and instead focused on being the best at his game. This was also because he desired to become a pro gamer, and little did he know a new game was right around the corner that would change his life forever. And we all know what that game is today, because it would be Fortnite, possibly the biggest game of all time. And especially during its early days, it was everywhere, being talked about by everyone from young kids to celebrities. Anyways, Fresh, like many other creators, decided that he would give it a try, and that would be the best decision of his life. But it wouldn't seem that way immediately, because as he started streaming Fortnite, he would have many issues that mainly revolved around his financial situation. He was also still in school at the time, which added a massive time constraint, but he would frequently skip class to focus on his dream of streaming, which caused even more issues. And to begin with these issues, he played on some terrible internet that would only allow for him to stream at really poor qualities. And he would also have to deal with frequent internet outages midway through his streams. And lastly, but possibly the most devastating of them all, was the fact that he could only pay for so many gigs a month, and by streaming he would use them all up quite quickly, which forced him to try and host donation goals on his streams to pay for more gigs so he can continue streaming. And while fighting through all these struggles, Fresh would only average around 7 viewers in his first month of streaming Fortnite. Now, despite all these struggles and possibly demotivating results, he would still be grinding Fortnite, and at least that worked right away, unlike his streaming, because he was on top of the leaderboards in almost every aspect of the game quite early. This was because Fresh held himself to an extremely high standard, and he decided that he would need to get a certain number of victory royales a day. And as he continued to grind, days turned to weeks, and he just kept going. But eventually, September 25th of 2018 would roll around. And to Fresh, this seemed like just another day of trying to become the best. But little did he know, in one of his games during this day, a life-changing moment would occur that would help him make lifelong friendships, and I'll let Lachlan tell this story because he knows it best.
5 years ago, Fortnite launched Season 6, and this was at a time when people were getting really good at the game. Myself, a content creator at the time, I always wanted to cover new seasons. I still do. It's one of my favorite things about literally what I do. But I'll never forget this season launch night because I was struggling so hard at winning a game. Now, only one of my solo games made the video, and this happened. What? Where? Pretty much I decided I was not playing another solo game. Instead, I was gonna invite someone to play with me. I'm sick of taking L's on update day. I'm getting a pro player. I don't care. And that's when I invited, for the first time, Mr. Fresh Asian. Now, you're probably asking how we even met. Essentially, I was playing with my brother Chances, who was streaming on Twitch at the time, and we just ran into a player at Retail Row, specifically at the downstairs, like, at the staircase of Doghouse at Retail. I remember it. I'll never forget it. Right where that garage door was, this guy just came out of nowhere, like, flipped a stair, did some crazy weird thing, and killed me. That, of course, was Fresh. And then he went into my brother's Twitch channel and started saying, yo, that was me at Retail. And then I added him. And that happened 2 days prior to this video.
Now, following this great moment, only a few days later, Lachlan would ask Fresh to be a part of his videos, and this would be the first real exposure Fresh would get. And I even remember watching that video when it first came out over 5 years ago. And this would truly be the start of the Fresh everyone knows today. From here, he would continue to appear in Lachlan's videos, and they would even end up playing in the World Cup, just falling short of qualifying as they would place 7th in 1 week of the qualifiers. But throughout this time, Fresh would connect with other creators like Lazarbeam and Muselk, who would also begin to recruit him to help them record their videos. Now, this would be the perfect opportunity for Fresh to start creating his own content, and that's exactly what he would do, because he already had a small head start on his YouTube, with his first being posted in May of 2018, just a few months before meeting Lachlan. But once he had gotten to know this group of content creators that was taking over Fortnite at the time, he would begin to post his own videos on his own channel with them. Now, despite all these great connections and progress he was making, he still struggled to even afford food. And on podcasts, he's talked about only eating 1 microwavable meal a day during this time. But all this would soon change, because he came especially close with Muselk, which was one of the biggest creators in Fortnite possibly ever. But back to their friendship, because as they got to know each other and Muselk learned more about Fresh's story, he would offer him an opportunity that he just couldn't pass up. And Muselk had offered Fresh the ability to move in with him, and this would give him stable internet, and right around this time, Fresh would absolutely blow up on Twitch, as he would go from averaging roughly 1,500 viewers in January of 2019 to averaging over 5,800 viewers just a few months later in April. And this momentum would only continue because as he continued to post on YouTube, he would continue to see views coming in. This process of constant growth would continue as Chapter 2 came around in October of 2019, because Fresh would continue to grow on social media. And on top of this, if he wasn't already doing enough, Fresh was one of the best competitive Fortnite players in the Oceania region at the time, as he would win many tournaments and place within top 5 in so many more. And if we remember one moment from Fresh's competitive career, it would have to be this insane solo clutch.
Oh my god. Bunch of solos and 1 duo. Huge! That's Lachlan Dockler. Still 200 minutes. Nice. No way.
Take that, dog.
Now, that was absolutely insane, but early in Chapter 2, Fresh would make the decision to transition from focusing on competitive Fortnite more into content, Now, of course, he was already living with Muso, like I mentioned earlier, and because of this, he would join Click. Now, Click is sort of a small content team that was formed by the major content creators in Australia, such as Muselk, Lachlan, Laserbeam, and a few others, and now that Fresh had joined this group, he would continue to see success, growing every month on Twitch and YouTube. He would gain a massive loyal fan base, and eventually in May of 2020, he would reach his all-time peak on Twitch, averaging over 18,000 viewers, which is absolutely insane. But just as things were looking so good, things would take a turn just a few months later. Now, to explain what exactly happened here, you need to know that Twitch signs popular streamers to big deals, and they become Twitch partners. Now, this comes with many benefits for the streamer, with the main one being more earnings for the creator. And of course, Fresh was part of this because he was one of the biggest streamers in the world at the time. But on August 3rd of 2020, Twitch would suddenly revoke his partnership, and this would affect Fresh greatly. He would begin to stream less and less, which resulted in less and less average viewers, and this may sound like he was falling off, but keep in mind that he was still averaging thousands of viewers every month, even after this catastrophic event. Now, the fact that Twitch had taken away his deal as a partner made many speculative fans and communities wonder if he would be moving over to streaming on YouTube, which would make a ton of sense because he was still pulling in massive amounts of views there. So many would continue to wait for his streams to return, and in the meantime they would continue to watch his YouTube videos over the next year. But eventually, Fresh would post his last video on YouTube on March 10th of 2023 that previewed a new Fortnite season. Then he would go totally silent, not posting any new content there, and not even streaming once in over 2 years. And this was where the conspiracies started. But more importantly, everyone just missed him. So where did he go? Well, to begin, many people came up with some crazy theories, which one of them being that he died. And just to clear the air and get that out of the way, Fresh has a Twitter account and has posted here and there over the last few years, so obviously he's good in that regard. But this whole theory brought me to his Twitter account, and I had to scroll to find my answers. But I also saw what could very well be a reason for his disappearance, which is crypto. And for those who aren't totally familiar with cryptocurrencies, they're basically entirely online currencies that can be used internationally. And around the time Fresh began to get involved with them, crypto was absolutely blowing up, making those involved extremely wealthy. And just to put it into perspective, if you put just $100 into Bitcoin in 2010, you would be a multi-millionaire today. Now, of course, Fresh got involved much later, but he hopped straight into NFTs, which were blowing up at that time. And NFTs are pieces of digital art that can be bought and sold through online sites like OpenSea. And anyone can create art, so people who had created NFT collections would go to popular creators like Fresh and ask them to promote their NFT projects. And in return for the promotion and exposure the creator could bring, they would be compensated with tons of money. But the money couldn't be the only reason for his disappearance. So why would he just leave his content creation and loyal community behind? Well, there's multiple sources online pointing to a major splitting apart and breaking up of the whole Click content group. And this drama seems to be quite well hidden from the public, but many have still managed to find out about it. And I won't get too much into it as I personally don't know the truth and validity behind every part of this story, but it's totally possible that this played a large role in Fresh's disappearance. But in my personal opinion, there was one big reason for him leaving everyone behind, and it's the same reason that causes so many other popular creators to quit, and that reason is simply burnout. I think that because of Fresh's drive and commitment to make it to the top for so many years through such difficult and hard conditions had an effect on him, and just continuing to put in the amount of hours he was streaming would be absolutely insane, while he was also putting out such high quality content on YouTube. And now of course he's made some solid money, so he has the opportunity to relax. And now I'll address whether or not he will return and when this could possibly be. But first, I'll start with the fact that content creation seems to be his true passion, since that's what he was so successful in, so it's very unlikely that he will ditch content forever. And again, just like many other YouTubers that overwork themselves, they tend to return to their audiences, so Fresh may do the same as well. But the bad news is that because Fresh got into crypto and NFTs, there's a good possibility that he sees much more money in that market, and thinks that his time will be better and more valuably spent there. So you could say that it really comes down to what he thinks and values. and if he values business or his old audience and content. Now you may not know what to think, but the most important factor is what he recently tweeted, where he basically hinted at his return. Now, of course, this is great news, and it means that he could likely be returning, if he isn't just trying to farm impressions, which he hopefully isn't. But regardless, any news on the return of Fresh is fantastic because of just how much Fresh has done for Fortnite and the online world in general.
That's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully, Fresh does come back.